Hello, strangelings. Welcome back to my parlor. Well, you caught me on an editing day, and honestly, I have something kicking around in my head, so let's talk about it. So, since I was a little kid, I have been told that I am certain people's oracles. I've been told that I am just an oracle in general. I've been called an old soul. I've been called a psychic. I've been every single way that you could possibly think of for somebody to say those things. I have heard. I am almost positive. And up to and including other languages. Oh man. Oh, I've had quite the interesting time in my life, trust me. And of course, saying that, I'm sure you guys can understand that today's talk is going to be about oracles a little bit. So before we begin, and just because I'm going to talk about oracles probably again in the future at some point on my channel. So I'm going to start this particular talk by making sure that we are all on the same page as to what an oracle actually, truly, in reality is. For people who have faith systems that include any kind of clairvoyance, oracles, or whatnot, you're probably going to tell me that an oracle is your conduit to your higher being, your connection to what the spiritualists these days are calling source, that things of that nature. And okay, I get it. Historians among you will probably say that, in your opinion, oracles are an interesting bleep throughout history in so many civilizations. And then as they began to understand what they didn't understand, they started to fade away. I'm going to tell you guys, with as much respect as you can understand me to have. And if you know me, you can understand I have a lot of respect, even if we don't agree. For as much respect as I have, that's not what an oracle is. Now, to really truly understand what an oracle is, we have to actually look at the person themselves. Most people who are considered oracles or psychics or yada 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 yada, whatever name you want to give them, most people with extrasensory perceptions are literally just that. They are people with extrasensory perceptions. Now, I get most people hear extrasensory perceptions and they're thinking, we're perceiving a message from source or the universe or whatever it is your favorite spiritualist likes to say. And, okay, sure. It's not really true at all. Extrasensory perceptions are the sensory perceptions everyone has. You see, when people say humans have a range of hearing from such and such a hertz to such and such a hertz, they're talking about an average. Same thing with the rest of the sensories. Same thing with just about any study you do as far as studies on things that are subjective per person. You see, we're all Gaia's little experiments. We are all created slightly different. There will probably almost never be two identical, souls on this planet, period. same species or not. You'll probably never find two absolutely 100% down to the very DNA identical people, no matter what form that life comes in. Now, because of this, some of us have hyperactive versions of our sight, our hearing, our taste, our ability to feel things. I personally was diagnosed with up to double the nerve tissue in my dermal layers. That's my skin, folks. I have this year had an eye doctor confirm that I'm tetrachromic, which means I have a larger range of visual acuity when it comes to colors. I have a larger range of colors that I can see, and I can fine-tune those colors more. I also know that I have heightened olfactories, and which is sense of smell and taste as well. And so, and my hearing is pretty high as well. I can hear within a much lower and a much higher range than average. I wouldn't say much. I shouldn't say much. I should say more like somewhat. I can hear the upper range of elephant drumming, for instance. I can actually converse with emus without really knowing what I'm saying, obviously, because I can't translate it. But I can hear them, and I can produce that sound back at them. And most oracles are somewhere near where I am with sensitivities. They're somewhere on this end of the scale. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, I highly doubt I am the most sensitive oracle that's ever existed, if I am an oracle at that. Because the truth is, the reason why I became interested in oracles is because of the amount of people who told me from the point I was a small child that I am. I honestly, one of the things I can tell you for sure, for the people who have gotten readings from me, actual personal face-to-face readings from me, one thing I can tell you for 100% sure is they are surely going to tell you that when it comes to me doing readings, I have almost no confidence in the words I'm saying because they feel like the right words to say. It feels like what I am seeing going on based on the cards that are coming out and my own intuitions. I don't necessarily know they're right because I don't know the person's life. And 9 times out of 10, I actually don't even know what questions they're asking, because I tend to encourage the people I read for to ask them inside your own mind so that you don't even have to worry about me cooking up a story so that it makes sense for what you want to hear. Now, being that we are sensitives, we are no different than medicine men. We are medicine men and women. We are no different than any other kind of healers whatsoever. We came into this world very sensitive. And most of us understand that we came into this world very sensitive because we are a tool for everyone, not just us, but the people around us to be able to navigate the world easier with. Not to mention the fact that we can read your nonverbals so that we know when you're needing something from us or from someone else. We understand when you're hurting. We understand when you're elated. We understand everything in between because we're sensitive enough to be able to see it on you, hear it, smell it. I'd say taste it, but I don't go around licking people, so I don't taste how they feel. Now, of course, the reason for bringing the subject up actually is because there are two ways that societies go about dealing with us sensitives. There is putting us in the center of our community where I feel we belong every time. Because that is the people we need to heal. That is the people we need to understand to know what and how to heal. And that's exactly what happens when we're there in the center of our people. We are there to advise them what to do in the most likely future and how best to prepare for it. We are there to help them understand why and how they are hurting now and how to maybe be able to stop the hurting from flowing and to then heal themselves for a better tomorrow for them. That's what we're for. Of course, we're also sometimes for making sure that people don't poison themselves, but that's only for us sensitives who are very brave and know exactly how to test things without killing ourselves too. So, yeah. The reason why it becomes an issue, however, is when people who decide that they, above anyone else in the populace of the tribe, are somehow worthy of the honor of having the right to lead. Now, I'm going to get into my feelings on leadership and why I feel that way in a later video. But again, people who feel that they are worthy of being a leader. Now, these are people who, more often than not, are people who feel like, because their society believes in this deity, assuming that they are also believers, they feel like they are the ones who should have the ear of the deity that they reside under, so to speak. So they will sometimes go ahead and decide that for whatever reason, and I'm gonna interject my own feelings, I hate it. They will decide sometimes for whatever reason that the oracle must be hidden away, that the holy healing person or people of their tribe must be hid away. Now, I can tell you these societies have various red flags. One of the biggest red flags to watch for is things like, things like what happened with the bezeled virgins. The bezeled virgins were 16 of them, all oracles, and they all were to be untouched by human hands. To touch one of these oracles was essentially to sentence one of these oracles to death. Just a mere tap on the shoulders, and one of these young women, because unfortunately Delphi was all females, No, not all sensitives to the point of being able to be a healing person. Not all sensitives are female. There's a decent number of them that are actually male. I've met a couple in my life. None of them have been people who were impactful long-term in my life. Nobody who stayed for very long. People I met randomly and we parted our ways. I suppose they were probably looking for their tribe, as many of us sensitives tend to be. Or maybe their tribe was all thick already. Anyhow, one of the major red flags when it becomes more about a power play for the person who would prefer to be your ruler is when they dictate that even just touching them means that, oh, well, we'll have to put her in this room over here so she can be buried alive with no food and no drink until she is no more. So many innocent young girls died that way. And not just in that place, but in multiple places and in multiple ways very similar. In fact, I know of stories of women who were considered healers and elders of their community who, because they were touched, were suddenly assumed to be witches and suddenly evil because a mortal has touched them. And I have made that point before to receive a, well, but that means they view her as an immortal, right? But that's not true. They view her as something that is only holy as it stays in the form which they viewed as holy in the first place. Which is to say that they have the rights to decide that they have the ability to tell what is and what is not holy, despite that having previously been the role of the very person in so many cases that is suddenly being demonized for being mortal. Now, some of the reason why these actions should be watched in these types of civilizations is, well, it's dark, really. It goes from a decently tree-populated woods to the deepest, darkest forest you will ever find. The well starts here. When it comes to dealing with oracles, the greed corrupts the oracles. The greed of the ruling class corrupts the oracles in this way. It starts with feeling like the oracle must be kept sacrosanct or sacred. Of course, this seems to be noble, especially to not only the oracle themselves, but the civilianry of, I know I say it weird each time, don't I? The civilians in the tribe, the regular everyday people of the tribe. It seems at first logical, especially if you are growing in influence in the area and you have the worry or knowledge of enemies. Except, usually the next step then becomes the gods have spoken to tell this person that, in fact, they would prefer that the oracle only be seen and touched and experienced by a certain, so to speak, elite version of society instead of society as a whole. Of course, that elite almost always is the priests and priestesses that are already helping the oracle because they have wrapped the oracle in this blanket of look at what a pampered life you get. Look at all the gildings we can put around you. The only problem is, in this, that even a gilded cage is a cage nonetheless. And if only a certain caliber, so to speak, of person is allowed within your presence, if, say, only priests, priestesses, and leaders are allowed around you, then these are also the only people you can extract information from using your senses to get the information to calculate what is the most likely future to begin with. And in an age where information didn't come pouring through a screen at you, you had to wait for someone to let you know, or be a witness yourself in some form, to actually know that something happened. This is a big problem. Big enough that altering or tailoring or filtering the information that the oracle gets really is no different than actually deciding to tailor the message, the prophecy, for yourself, instead of letting the oracle do it for you. Because without the full information, the oracle is less likely to be able to give the most accurate diagnosis. Worse yet, the anger some of those leaders had a tendency to show when they discovered by action that their oracle didn't actually need them to feed them information for the oracle to know the information. Because if they're a good oracle, sometimes they already have ways of getting it. Now this seems egregious, yes. And it could be accidentally egregious, obviously. It's pretty easy to corrupt that system in that way. However, excuse me. Did not mean to burp at you. We get just a touch more water. More egregious yet. Not only can those who are worthy to be in the presence of the oracle tailor the information that is coming to the oracle to be able to use as their information base, but they are also free to, in the best of times, filter, and in the worst of times, straight out lie about what the oracle has actually said for the people. Whenever you have a middleman and you have something you must tell someone else and you have to go through that middleman, You have zero guarantee that they are willing to tell exactly what you tell them to say. Zero. And if someone is greedy and willing, you can almost guarantee it won't be, unless it benefits them. Most egregious still is if said leadership became so jealous or maybe enamored of the idea that they are gods or of the gods, they can decide that they really are supposed to be the direct voice of whatever god they worship. And in locking the oracle away, it becomes so much easier to discredit everything the oracle does for the people, so as to dissolve their faith in the person or people who have literally been born to be able to help them thrive. So essentially, the moral of my story here, guys, is oracles are not meant to be kept behind closed doors, locked away, kept away from the important information they need to be able to do their jobs right. And it is all important information. That was another thing that the leaders always got wrong. You see, it's the oracle who has any idea what is important for them to know and what is not. No one but the oracle knows what is important and what is not. At least in regards to what they have to say. So, you want a happy, healthy society. You have healing people in your society. And I guarantee you do, whether you believe in them or not. The best location for them, if you want power to stop corrupting and leaving you in the dust, your best positioning for your oracles is out among your people. Out seeing the actual events happening in the real world, in real time. Because without that information, they never have the full story. Without that information, their predictions are just being tailored by the people who are feeding their knowledge base. And without that information, it becomes so much easier for power to corrupt those who prefer to wear the crown. Alright guys, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I mean, I've got to edit this up so that I can get it up. You guys will see this on Thursday. And I love all of you. I want you to do me a favor and remember that it doesn't matter who you are, I love you. And to take care of each other. I'll see you guys in the next video.